Hi everyone, welcome back to AI Belvega, and today, I'm going to show you how to create a simple yet powerful to-do list application using Python and Tkinter. This project is perfect for anyone looking to enhance their Python skills and learn more about GUI development. So, let's get started. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you never miss any of my tutorials. Let's get started. First, we need to set up our Python environment. I'm using Python version 3.12 in Visual Studio, which works perfectly with Tkinter. If you're using an older version of Python, I recommend updating it to avoid any issues. You can create a new Python file and name it whatever you like. For this tutorial, I'll name mine todos.py. If you're enjoying the video so far, give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what other projects you'd like to see. Simply type this command into your terminal or command prompt as pip install tk and press enter to install Tkinter. In our code, we start by importing the necessary modules, Tkinter for creating the GUI components, and MessageBox for displaying warning messages. Then, we create the main application window and set its title and dimensions. Next, we'll create a function to add tasks to our list. This function retrieves the text from the entry widget and adds it to the list box. If the entry is empty, it shows a warning message. Tkinter is designed to be user-friendly and straightforward, with a gentle learning curve. This makes it an excellent choice for beginners who are just starting with GUI programming. Tkinter provides a wide range of widgets, including buttons, labels, text boxes, menus, and more. These widgets allow you to create complex and functional GUI applications with ease. We create the main window of the application, set its title, dimensions, and background color. At the end, I add the background color. First things first, keep your code organized. Use meaningful variable names and comment your code to explain complex sections or logic. This not only helps you understand your code later, but also makes it easier for others to collaborate or maintain your project. Break down your application into smaller, reusable components or modules. This makes your codebase more maintainable and allows you to focus on specific functionalities. Import these modules into your main script to build your GUI application step by step. Now, let's create the GUI components. The entry widget for task input, buttons to add, delete, and mark tasks as completed, and the list boxes for displaying tasks. Don't be afraid to experiment with Tkinter. Try out different widgets, colors, and layouts. Building GUIs should be enjoyable and creative. Embrace the learning process and celebrate your achievements along the way. Regularly test your application as you build it. Ensure each component functions as expected and handles edge cases. Debugging early and often saves time in the long run and ensures a smoother user experience. Regularly test your application as you build it. Ensure each component functions as expected and handles edge cases. Debugging early and often saves time in the long run and ensures a smoother user experience. Always anticipate potential errors and handle exceptions gracefully. Tkinter applications often interact with user input and external resources. Use try-except blocks to catch errors and provide informative error messages using Tkinter's MessageBox module. We need to identify which task the user wants to delete. We do this by retrieving the index of the selected item in the tasks_list box using the curSelection method. The curSelection method returns a tuple of the selected indices. Since we're only interested in a single selection, we access the first item in the tuple with 0. If no item is selected, an exception will be raised. The get method of the tasks_list box to retrieve the task at the selected index. This gives us the task that the user wants to delete. Once we have the selected index and task, we can delete the task from the list box using the delete method. This removes the task from the visual list. After deleting the task from the list box, we record this action in the history file by calling the add_history_file function. We pass the task with a deleted suffix to indicate that this task was deleted. This helps maintain a log of actions taken on the tasks.
I'ma lose my mind, I'ma poker face. Keep your eyes on me, you know. Just in case, just in case.
To identify which task the user wants to mark as completed. We do this by retrieving the index of the selected item in the tasks_list box using the curSelection method. The curSelection method returns a tuple of the selected indices. Since we're only interested in a single selection, we access the first item in the tuple with 0. If no item is selected, an exception will be raised. Next, we use the get method of the tasks_list box to retrieve the task at the selected index. This gives us the task that the user wants to mark as completed. Once we have the selected index and task, we can delete the task from the list box using the delete method. This removes the task from the visual list, preparing us to reinsert it with a completed status.
He's a maniac, my aphrodisiac, disiac.
I'll be showing you how to create and use a text file to keep track of your task history in a Tkinter to-do list application. Using a text file to store your task history allows you to keep a persistent record of all actions taken on your tasks. Even when you close and reopen the application, you can see what tasks were completed or deleted. This is especially useful for tracking progress and reviewing past tasks. Let's break down how the history file works in our application. These entries help you keep track of the changes made to your task list. Let's look at the code that handles this. First, we need to set up our text file. We'll call this file taskshistory.txt. This file will store entries for each task action, such as when a task is marked as completed or deleted. But why do we need a history file? The main reason is to provide a record of your task management activities. This can be useful for reviewing your productivity, understanding your progress, and maintaining a backup of important task actions. It ensures that you don't lose track of what you've done, even if you accidentally delete a task. Next, let's look at how we can write entries to this text file whenever a task is completed or deleted. We'll use the add_history_file function for this. In this function, add_history_file, we take an entry as an argument, which is a string describing the action taken on a task. We insert this entry into the history list box in the GUI. Then, we open the history file in append mode and write the entry to the file. If there's an issue writing to the file, we show an error message. Next, we'll add the task entry field and buttons for adding, deleting, and completing tasks. In the loading_history function, we open the history file in read mode, indicated by the R parameter. We read each line from the file and insert it into the history list box. Using the strip method, we remove any leading or trailing whitespace, including the new line character. If the history file doesn't exist yet, we simply pass without any action. If any other error occurs, we display an error message. When the application starts, we want to load the history from the text file so that all previous actions are displayed. Here's how we do that with the loading_history function. In this function, we open the history file in read mode. We read each line and insert it into the history list box after stripping any extra whitespace. If the file doesn't exist, the function does nothing. If there's another error, we show an error message. Adding the history label will be placed above the list box that displays the history entries. We use the pack method to add the label to the application window. We also need to record in marking_task_completed function this action in the history file by calling the add_history_file function. We pass the task with the *completed great job suffix to indicate that this task was completed. This helps maintain a log of actions taken on the tasks.
You're the one.
clear all history entries or delete specific entries from the history file. Let's see the code for these functionalities. In the delete_history_list function, we delete all entries in the history list box using the delete method with parameters 0 and tkend, which specify the range from the first to the last entry. We then open the history file in write mode, indicated by the W parameter. This mode clears the file's contents. We write an empty string to the file to ensure it's completely cleared. If any error occurs during this process, we display an error message. Sometimes, you might want to delete a specific entry from the history. We handle this with another function. In the delete_history_entry function, we first get the selected entry's index from the history list box. If no entry is selected, an index error is raised, and we display a warning message. We delete the selected entry from the list box. Then, we open the history file in write mode to update its contents. We iterate over all remaining entries in the history list box and write each one to the file, ensuring the history file is updated accurately. We need to identify which entry the user wants to delete. We do this by retrieving the index of the selected item in the history_lists list box using the curSelection method. The curSelection method returns a tuple of the selected indices. Since we're only interested in a single selection, we access the first item in the tuple with 0. If no item is selected, an index error will be raised. To open the history file in write mode, W. Writing to the file in this mode will overwrite the existing contents, so we must ensure that we write back all remaining entries. In this loop, we iterate over all current entries in the history_lists list box, using the size method to get the total number of entries. We write each entry to the file, ensuring that every entry is followed by a new line character, \n. This effectively updates the file to exclude the deleted entry. And that's it. You've built a fully functional to-do list application using Tkinter in Python. Remember, if you encounter any issues with Tkinter, make sure you're using a compatible version of Python. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
You're the one.